Blackhawks fall 6-3 on home ice. The new look Blackhawks fall 6-3 on home ice to the Vancouver Canucks, and that was a very painful loss. That was a game that I think they lost that game in the first 10 minutes of the hockey game. I really do. Welcome back to the Blackhawks Conversation. If you're new here, I'm here after every single Chicago Blackhawks game, doing an in-depth analysis post-game show like this. I'm also live right here on YouTube for every single Chicago Blackhawks game. I was live tonight for this one, and yeah, it was tough going in this game. A couple positives, but it's hard to pull a whole lot from this game. Um, I mean, the first goal of the game. Let's just get the right away. Ryan Donato scored, and that was a beautiful goal. Um, Nazar gets it to him on the breakout, and then it's all Ryan Donato. He chips it in, chases after it. The puck bounces to the front of the net. He skates onto it. Quick little maneuver to the backhand. Maybe it was the forehand. And he puts it home. Beautiful goal. We go up 1-0 right away, and it's feeling good. And then all of a sudden, the Canucks start to pressure, and in the blink of an eye, they get 3 goals. And on the first goal, it was a redirection in front of the net. You have Crevier who went high into the zone. Nobody really came back to cover quick enough. Del Mastro goes to the puck carrier near the circle, and you leave the guy alone in front for the redirection. And then the second goal, it's another deflection. It's a shot from the point, and Vlasic doesn't take his man's stick, and it's another deflection. And then on the third goal, again, you have another redirection in front of the net, and Nazar has his guy tied up, but doesn't tie up his stick. So it's 3 redirections of some sort for each goal in front of the net. And I'll be honest, I don't really blame Soderblom for those 3 goals. Like, it's just purely bad coverage by the defense. There's a reason they always say take the stick, not the body, because for that exact reason, within, the first less than the first half of the first period, you just got scored on 3 times. All the momentum, all the energy in the building is gone after the Donato goal that got the crowd on their feet early. And now you're down 3-1. Um, but credit to the Hawks. The final maybe 5 to 10 minutes of the third period, or sorry, of the first period, they turned their game around, and I thought they played well. Um, actually, I thought they played quite well. Um, after the those 3 goals. Sorry, I'm all over the place here. Um, Ilya Mikheyev got one. Um, to get them back within 2. Um, and it was a nice goal. It was a really nice play by Oliver Moore. Um, to kind of hold off 2 guys, skate the puck into the zone, get it to Bertuzzi, who gets it back to Oliver Moore, who feeds a beautiful pass over to Mikheyev, and the Hawks have a bit of life. And then you get to the second period, and Frank Nazar gets one to tie the game. And man, that was a much needed goal for Nazar. It was a nice goal, a little flyby tip on a Vlasic shot, a much needed Frank Nazar goal. And that goal comes in the final minute of the second period. So a big goal. And what I really liked about that goal too was the fact that, like I said, from the back half of the first period on, the Hawks were the better team, and they were playing really good hockey. And they dominated for most of the second period. I mean, the Canucks only really had 2 good shifts in the second period, and they came back to back, and they came right before the Nazar goal. And so the Hawks respond to those 2 really good dominant shifts by the Canucks by tying the game. Not only that, but it was in the last minute of the second period. It was a huge goal, not just for the team, but for Frank Nazar too. And then you get into the third period, and uh, Besser puts them up 4-3, and that was early in the third, and that was the first goal where I thought, okay, that one's a bit more on Soderblom, because the puck gets thrown on net from the corner, and he could have swatted it away, he could have covered it, but he let it go up his stick way into the air, and then Brock Besser just knocks it out of midair, and it's in. And again, it's also bad coverage. it's also you don't take the stick. I don't know. I get that the puck's in the air, you maybe can't take the stick, but um, yeah, I didn't like that. That one I thought was a bit more on Soderblom, excuse me, than the other ones. That's for certain. Um, yeah, like I said, outside of the first 10 minutes of this game, the Hawks were the better team, and the Hawks were playing well. But that's the result of just abysmal D zone coverage that puts you in a hole that you can't really um, come back from. Um, let's talk about some individual player performances. I thought this was a really good debut for Mangiapane. Mangiapane made his debut on the fourth line. The Hawks went 11-7 today, so it was Mangiapane with Slaggert, and then you had the centers rotating. But I thought he had a really good game. A really good debut from him. He played really well with Slaggert. They did score a goal. It ended up getting disallowed for a kick from Slaggert, so he would have had an assist. Uh, he had a great 2-on-1. He was hard on pucks in the corners. He was going to the net. He got involved in a scrum. He drew a penalty. He set up a 2-on-1 with Slaggert that led to a little in-tight breakaway for Slaggert, which was a scoring chance that drew a penalty. So yeah, I just thought Mangiapane was actually all over this game and had a positive impact for the Blackhawks. And I'll be honest, if you watch the trade video, I wanted him gone right to Rockford. But obviously that didn't happen. He's playing and yeah, I thought he had a really good game. So happy for him. Uh, looking to see what he can do on Sunday if he plays. But yeah, good game from him. And Connor Bedard also had a really good game. And this was probably the best 0 point performance I've ever seen. Connor Bedard could have had 4 or 5, 6 goals tonight. Connor Bedard was all over it. He had a whole bunch of one timers. He hit the post. He was just all over it, creating chances left and right. And um, yeah, he had a really good game. He was dominant and threatening all night. And like I said, probably the most dominant 0 point game I've ever seen. So that sucks for him, especially against his hometown team in Vancouver. He wants to score. Um, but a guy who did score, a guy who had 2 points, Frank Nazar, and that was a much needed 2 points for Frank Nazar. I mean, nobody needed a game like that more than Frank Nazar. The assist, he didn't really do a whole lot on the assist. He kind of struggled to get the puck out in his own end, ended up getting it out, and it went to Donato, who, like I said, Ryan Donato did everything on that goal, but it's still an assist. It's still a point on the board. And that goal had to feel great. You can tell it felt great. He was happy to get it. Um, yeah, I thought he had a good game, and it was a much needed game tonight. He struggled a bit on the faceoff dot. He went 7-9. Everyone kind of struggled. He was 7-9. Bedard was 6-9. Moore was 4-5. Teravainen was 1-3. Nobody really had a good night on the dot, unfortunately. Um, let's see here. A question I have too is a question I had going into this game is why isn't Nick Lardis here yet? Um, I honestly thought he was going to get called up as soon as they traded Dickinson and then Foligno and Doc. I mean, we lost 3 forwards and he hasn't been called up yet. So I don't know what the reason for that is. I don't know if they're waiting for a certain time or what, but I think they're really confident in Lardis's game and they like what they have in Nick Lardis. There's no reason why they wouldn't want him up here, so I don't really know what the motivation behind that decision was. Um, so yeah, I'm hoping to see uh Lourdes up here soon. Um, he would help the power play, which looked awful tonight. The power play did not look good. It looked like the power play used to look. Coming out of the break, it looked okay, and tonight it looked like it did before the break. It was not good. It was struggling to gain entry. When they did get entry, same old story. They were moving the puck well, but they weren't doing anything dangerous with the puck except for cycling it around the perimeter. Um, yeah. And then you get late into the game, you're down by one, 6-on-5. You start to attack even before the 6-on-5, and there was just no urgency. I didn't like what I saw. There was just zero urgency from anybody on this team to tie this game. And then you pull the goalie. You have this give and go play with Levshinov and Teravainen that gets picked off. Levshinov is seemingly indecisive on the play, and he just gets beat by who was it? Sassone, I think. Sure, he gets beat by Sassone. And you can see his frustration after the goal. Hands up, and he's yelling something, probably in Russian or or whatever. But yeah, but listen, like it's fine to be upset. You lost to the worst team in the NHL after an abysmal first 10 minutes that essentially lost you the game. Um, and then you were a better team the rest of the night, but you couldn't get out of the hole. So it sucks to lose to the worst team in the NHL, but I mean, you got to think of the impact. Think about how young this team is. This is the youngest Blackhawks team I've ever watched. So I don't know. Think about how hard it's got to be for them to adjust after losing three key veterans, their entire leadership group. Foligno captain, Murphy assistant, and Dickinson assistant. They lose their entire leadership group, which reminds me, Bedard and Bertuzzi had the A's on tonight. Only two assistants tonight. So it's going to take some time for the team to adapt and to learn. And I said it on stream, for the team to grow into this new identity that it's going to have, because new guys are going to step up. New guys are going to take over. New guys are going to be leaders. So they got to find that. They got to find who those guys are going to be. Guys have to find their roles, and they have to learn how to play without these veterans that I think were very heavily relied upon. I took to Twitter after the game and asked if anybody had any questions, and we have some questions from Twitter for this one. Hockey Barn Review says Levshinov needs to be slapped upside the head for that play. Um, no disagreements here, man. Why is Burakovsky still on the first line? Says Crash Dummy. Um, yeah, that's a great question. And I will say, like, he didn't have an awful night. He did not have a good night. There were some bad plays. There were some good plays. It was kind of just a meh night, in my opinion, from Burakovsky. But yeah, there's no reason he should be on the first line. There is not. I would rather Mangiapane on the first line after he played halfway through this game. If you did a quick evaluation of who deserves to be on the top line, Mangiapane deserved it more than Burakovsky. I'll tell you that. Oliver Moore was having a great night. I don't like him on the wing. Not that I want him to be moved to Bedard's wing. He needs to play center. He is way better when he's a center. Um, but my point is, you put anyone else up there. Why isn't Nick Lardis here? Why isn't Nick Lardis here to play with Bedard? We haven't really seen it. Nick Lardis was here when Bedard was injured. Frondell will be here soon. Just waiting for that. Next one's from Tony. He says Nick Lardis needs to get called up, like I just said. And why isn't Renzel out there on the 6-on-5? Yeah, I think they're trying to figure out what they have offensively in both Renzel and Levshinov. You see it on the power play. They get cycled on the top unit power play. You'll see both Levshinov and Renzel out there with the top power play unit. They kind of go back and forth, and I think they take the same approach with situations like that, like a 6-on-5. And I don't know if Renzel had just been on the ice or if they thought put Levshinov out. But with the question why isn't Renzel out there on the 6-on-5? Listen, if the Hawks score, we're not asking that question. So I don't know. Like, was it a bad play? Yeah. Was it all his fault? No. It was Teravainen's pass that got picked off. So it's hindsight. Like I said, if they had scored, we would be saying, yeah, they put all the right guys out there. So I don't know. I'm almost tired of having this Levshinov conversation and micro analyzing him every night. He's 20 years old. He's going to have these struggles. He's working the kinks out of his game. Me personally, I think he's looked a lot more calm, cool, collected, and consistent since the Olympic break ended. I have no worries about Artem Levshinov. Um, and like it's what we saw tonight. It's the development curve. These guys, it's not like they're gonna get here and they're instantly gonna be at their prime and we're gonna be winning. Like they have to learn how to play in the NHL. you got to give these kids time. Our last question is from Angie. She says, "What the fuck?" Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have worded it any better myself. That's a great way to sum up this game, and that's exactly how we're gonna end this post game. On that note, um, yeah, it's a heartbreaking loss. It's a game they should have won. Like I said, I really think they lost that game in the first 10 minutes. Like, I know they scored the first goal, but you get humbled with 3 straight on awful defensive breakdowns, coverage errors. Um, yeah, this new defensive system isn't going great. Um, yeah, but at the same time, I can't be too mad because I said it myself, like, it's an adjustment after losing these veterans. It's a young team. It's gonna be even younger next year. If you think this was painful, next year is gonna be painful. We're gonna watch. I mean, Levshunov will still be finding his game. Rinzel still be finding his game. Frondel might have some downs. Kanserov is gonna have some downs. Boisvert is gonna have to find his game. Lardis is still gonna be new to the NHL. There's gonna be a lot of ups and downs next year as well, and I don't think a lot of people are prepared for that. So yeah, that's all from me. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. Like I said, I'm here after every single Chicago Blackhawks game doing an in-depth analysis post-game show. I'm also live right here on YouTube for every single Chicago Blackhawks game. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. We have a really awesome small community we're building. And we just hit 200 subscribers today. So thanks everybody for that. That's a crazy number to hit in the first season that I'm doing this. So the support means a lot. There's a lot of support in the live streams, and it really does mean a lot to me. So that's all from me for this one. I'll see you Sunday, live for the game right here on YouTube and in the post game show. See you then.